Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I was just reading a CNBC article about side hustling. It was about this 28-year-old who had tried 25 different hustles in his short career, and I came up with a little bit of a rule of thumb after my own experiences as well. I find, personally, if you're doing a side hustle that you can't do in your sleep or without much thought to it, it's probably going to cause more trouble than it's worth. What do I mean by that? How many times have you seen somebody brag about the little money they bring in from their side hustle, but then you look at their lives, they're stress spending all the money they're making on their side hustles and probably more, and they're probably having unhealthy habits as a result of that, and their overall inflows are probably negative, right? They make some money doing side hustles, but their life is exponentially more stressful. It's not hard to stress spend away what little money you make as a result of the stresses from doing a side hustle. That's why I make it a rule of thumb that I'm only going to do stuff that I could otherwise do in my sleep, or that I otherwise would do anyway, right? Anything beyond that is probably going to cause a lot more trouble than it's worth. Unfortunately, I find that a lot of these side hustles also don't scale very well. Let me give you an example of what I mean by scale. When I started making the bismuth art, this was last fall. I can't believe I'm going to be celebrating my 1-year anniversary soon. I had purchased a 50-pound box of bismuth. It comes in 3 segments, and I had made a bunch of stuff out of it, and I went to several art consignment shops, and before I knew it, I had sold probably less than 10 pounds of the bismuth, and I got back all the money that after paying the commissions, I got back all the money. I spent on 50 pounds of bismuth, and I still had 40 more pounds of stuff that was still on display at the consignment shop. And I remember thinking to myself, I just printed 40 pounds of bismuth. It's like owning my own printing press at home, or more like a bismuth mine at home, right? Right now, most of the bismuth I buy comes from China. It's like I took the Chinese bismuth mine back to my own home, right? That's what I felt when I first did that. Unfortunately, it doesn't scale very well. It's easy to turn 10 pounds of bismuth into 50. Trying to then turn the 50 into 250 is exponentially harder. That's what really threw me at the beginning. Is I underestimated how hard it is to grow. But part of the reason I even started doing the bismuth art is I wanted to have a second source of income, so that at my day job, I was working as a tutor at the time, at my day job I would have more leverage to speak my own ways. Unfortunately, it hasn't 100% played out that way. What ends up happening is that the bismuth art and other gig work gobbles up all the energy. I make more mistakes at work, and now I have less leverage to speak, not more. And that's something that I'll have to work on. But I am so proud of myself that this past week I got rid of a couple of troublesome clients. And I wish I had this kind of leverage a year ago when I was working at the tutoring center. Too many times I got walked all over. I had a client that I really loved to work with. Unfortunately, he's 18 years old. He started his first job, which is a beautiful thing, except that it forces him to come at a very weird hour. And the hour is completely isolated from all the other work. So I end up having to waste 2 or 3 hours just to get that 1 hour of work. And so it created a lot of drama, and I didn't like I said earlier, I didn't have the leverage to speak up. Unfortunately, by the time I made up an income with the bismuth art, I created a lot of stress that it really ruined the quality of my tutoring, and then I had even less leverage, right? So I think a good rule of thumb is for your gig work, for your side income, is if it's not something you could do in your sleep, if it's not something you could do without lifting a finger, it's probably going to cause more trouble than it's worth.